Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Charlie Mike, hosted by me, Mike Buchanan. Hey, listen, today we're going to be talking to Althea Williams, correct? Yes, I got, okay, good. I'm glad I got the name right. I'm going to let Althea introduce herself so she can tell you all about what she does and the organization that she kind of, I guess you run now, right? I mean, it's yours.
Yes. My name, again.
Go ahead, introduce,
said,
just go in, right into it.
Althea Williams, the founder of She Vets It.
Okay.
It's actually, I guess you could say, an organization where I bring on guest speakers every week. Either on Tuesday, we talk about entrepreneurship, and then on Thursday, I have veteran organizations that come on to share about the services that they provide. Because as you know, when we're in the military, everything's at our arm reach. You know, we got the commissary, we have the clinic, the this, the that, anything we need is there. But when we get out the military and we go back to our home, it may not be military-friendly city. So you have to figure out what it is that's out there, because we always think that the VA is our one-stop shop. But there are so many wonderful organizations around the United States that actually support us and bridge the gap for programs that we may need as veterans.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, well said, and thank you for what you do. I really do appreciate it. I think anyone that wants to get out there and really pour their passion and kind of like their desire to get better themselves, and then kind of pour, and then it becomes something naturally just awesome, like your organization has become. My hat's off. My hat's off to you. It's honestly, I think that I'm going to live vicariously through you, because that's literally what I want to be doing right now. No, I mean, I think that it's great because, you know, when you do kind of find your niche and then you're like, hey, listen, I'm really helping people and I just enjoy helping people. And then seeing how it just naturally just grows just because you care. You legitimately care. I think it's great. I think you did say it well that the VA can't do everything, and I think that that's obvious. Sometimes more than not, unfortunately. But I think that you're absolutely right with that. I think that we definitely require a lot of community partnerships to do what we do. The VA, I think, sometimes forgets that because they have this holier than thou attitude sometimes. But it's okay, because they're often reminded whenever they fail that they're like, if I would have just been partnered with this community partner, right? I could have covered it. I talk to people like it's like a Venn diagram, right? You know, where it kind of overlaps. No organization can do everything. Nobody can be a one-stop shop. So
Definitely.
yeah.
Ooh, I know. And actually, I didn't realize until I personally was getting out, and you know, as you know, I experienced a traumatic brain injury getting out. But before I got out, I was actually in a war transition unit. And so a lot of veterans may not go that route. And so a lot of times when you're in a WTU, you have privy to different organizations that may come and visit. And I was just thinking, I don't think a lot of my veterans know about these organizations that are out there that support veterans, you know, whether it's career transitioning or maybe, mental health and wellness, or retreats for, you know, bringing your marriage together because of after combat or PTSD and things like that. And sometimes, you know, some people may not feel comfortable going to the VA and sitting in counseling and doing that. And, you know, sometimes organizations that are off-site that are out there, they may feel more comfortable talking about some of their traumas more in depth. So I was like, you know what, I think, you know, maybe I should share this. But when I was sharing that information, I was also doing something because I felt cognitively I was going through some major changes. And so I wanted to exercise my brain, like keep it going. So I would just post things on Instagram because it was challenging, you know, finding veteran organizations and getting information and posting it and things like that. So It was just really exercising, helping me to help someone else at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I do the same thing sometimes where like I'll post something just because I want to remember it, right? You know what I'm saying? Like I'll be like, ooh, I want to remember this thing. And so like I'll post it because I know I can just go back through my feed later. Like 100 years later, I could go back through my feed and be like, oh, there it is.
There it is. Yeah.
Right. And so I know, I think that I just think that it's great, and it's a wild concept though. And I've seen it before. I've done some things that I've seen it happen. I know that you've told me some stories, but I just think that it's wild that like sometimes we can do this most selfish things, okay, but in the right way to where it becomes the most selfless thing that we've ever done in our lives.
Yes, because
Right. And how how it's crazy how it transitions from like, I'm doing this for me kind of mostly, but then now I'm like, oh, but
help
look,
someone else.
yeah, but look at how many other people I can help just by doing this. It's crazy.
Yes, and oh my gosh, because when I originally did it, I just wanted to post the information, and I wasn't trying to be out here on a podcast or doing anything like that. I'm more of a, oh, here's some good information. You guys look at it. Really cool. This is a great organization. So, but for some reason, I was getting organizations in universities and other veteran organizations start catching wind and start, hey, can you post this? Can you post? And I just started doing that. And then I was like, okay. And then I just one day decided to jump on Clubhouse. And when I jumped on Clubhouse, I guess I just felt like maybe I should be on Clubhouse. And, just it was during the peak of the pandemic. And, during the pandemic, we were all at home and didn't have anything to do. So I was like, man, this is going to be so important for me to bring other veterans together, have a safe space where we can connect. And I made sure that one thing was that we respect each other, in that space. And so that part was just so important for me. But it just grew into something more. And then before I knew it, someone was like, oh, you should do a live. So then I started thinking, well, if I do a live, I'll do a live with an organization instead of posting it. Just have an organization come on and tell us about it. To me, it was like having a phone call, getting on a phone call with an organization like, hey, can you tell me about your services that you provide and where are you located and how can we get involved and things like that. So that's pretty much what.
Why recreate the wheel, right? I mean, like if Goodyear's already making a tire out there, right? Why do I have to make a brand new tire for a car that I'm selling, right? I just go get Goodyear tires. I go get Goodyear, give me a tire.
Exactly. Yeah. And so my whole thing, and I'm glad you said that, is my whole thing is not to reinvent the wheel.
Yes.
Because there are wonderful organizations out there. And it was more so to bridge the gap between those organizations and veterans. And I was just thinking one day, like, oh my, getting out the military, I was like, what am I going to do? I'm not the same person I used to be, after getting injured. But one thing that I do know I still have is that I'm a connector. And so I was like, I can use my experience, because I used to run a chamber of commerce before I joined the military.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, and I used to I joined, I was turning 39. So it's
very young.
Yeah, very young. So, well, in the military, your first sergeant's usually about 38.
Yeah, at 39 in the military, you're being called grandma at that point.
Right. Like, actually, what's funny is because when I was in basic, that's what they would call me. They're like, "You're gonna let grandma beat you?" And I'm like, "Why I gotta be the one y'all gotta?" So nobody wanted to be slower than me.
That's okay. You're welcome. I can be your motivator. I'm fine with that.
So look, if you're behind grandma, you are.
That's right. That's right. See, building bridges, motivating people to get up to your standards.
Right.
I like it.
And so, but here's the thing: I was seeing 18-year-old fracture their hip or different things, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm a goner. It's just a matter of time.
It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
Yes, when, because she's 18.
Yeah.
But then someone said, well, see, your generation, 39, your generation, you guys played outside. Mm-hmm. Their generation didn't. So their bones are not quite built the way ours were.
Yeah, that's true.
So I had that working on my side.
It doesn't stop at their bones. It goes to their mind. It goes to, there's a whole
that's a whole nother podcast.
I know it. I know it.
Yeah. But yeah, I really, really wanted to, like I said, my whole thing, it was not to reinvent the wheel, but just to let other veterans know about organizations. I'm just, I guess the older part of me is just always wanting to help and help people in any capacity. So I didn't lose that. So I always just wanted to just, I knew that with me being 39, it was it was really tough for me, getting out the military and getting injured. And I was like in a really, really dark place. And so I watched this movie, and I always say it. I watched this movie called The Shack. And this movie, and I don't want to give away the movie, but this gentleman.
Spoilers.
Oh, yeah, right. This gentleman had a conversation with God asking why. And so it just had me in tears because I asked God why some people I went to Afghanistan didn't come back. And so it was a lot of different things I was struggling. And then during the traumatic brain injury, I couldn't remember people. And I had a lot of different struggles. My husband was driving me, I went from being, independent, joined the military with my MBA, all that kind of stuff. And then now I need someone to drive me places because of my medical issues. And so that really, I just didn't think that I had a purpose. And so one day after watching that movie, something just said, why don't you get a meetup group with a couple of ladies, not to do anything like what I'm doing with She Vets It, but just to meet up and someone that's in the military. And you guys go to lunch or whatever, because when you get out, you're going to need some type of support. You're going to need to be around people that you can relate to and who understands you without you having to explain yourself. PTSD, you talk to a civilian friend about PTSD, they just automatically think, oh, she's crazy.
Yeah.
It's just
right out of the gate.
Out the gate. Where with us, when we talk about PTSD and our challenges and stuff like that, we don't judge each other like that. It's just something. I feel I'm in a safe space when I'm with veterans. When I'm in another space and it's non-veterans, I deal like my anxiety is a lot higher. I just get a little more irritable around people. Like I'm like a total different. I'm outside of my character.
Yeah, you're worried about what they're gonna say about you or think about you or whatever. I used to do it all the time. I do it a lot less now because I just don't care as much. I really don't. I just don't care as much. Yeah, I mean, so, the civilians, I just really don't care anymore. They're either gonna love me or they're gonna hate me, and that's their prerogative. But I used to do this thing like what you were just talking about, right? Where you were like, civilians, if you say you have PTSD, they're gonna be terrified of you. That used to be the case a lot. Mm-hmm. And so whenever my wife, when I first got out, I moved to Las Vegas to take a job at the VA, mm-hmm. and I used to do it all the time. Where like we would meet a civilian couple, because we were out in the civilian world now, mm-hmm. and we'd meet the civilian couple, and she'd be like, I think we should really like have like, we should be friends with these guys, and we could like have dinner with them or whatever. And I would say, okay, let's go do that. And then I would go, and then the first thing I'd be like, hey, Mike, it's glad to meet you. I have PTSD and I was deployed twice. It's a pleasure to meet you.
It's a pleasure to meet you.
And I'd watch some of their faces just drop like they just saw a ghost.
Oh my goodness.
Or like Johnny had just broken down the door in The Shining. So like I'm like, yeah, we can't be friends with these people. Wait. They're terrified of me.
but okay, so you had me laughing because you were saying you don't care.
Yeah.
But the thing that I worry about is, going out there and that recently, sure. I went to a FC Dallas game. I got tickets helping another veteran who has an organization, needed some people to go to this event. So I wanted to support him because he always support me. So I went and gave the tickets to 3 other people to go. And so they're like, oops, sorry. They're like, clink,
technical
clink,
malfunctions.
They're like, clink, clink, clink. And one lady, she's like, clink, clink in my ears and the noise. And I'm like, okay, this is way too much. How did I get myself into this? So she's like, just all out. And that's what's supposed to happen. Like, you're supposed to have fun at these events. But I know I shouldn't be at that event because my anxiety, and I'm like, okay, ma'am, can you keep your cling right over here?
Yeah.
Right in this
Yeah.
space. Like, don't go like this,
Yep.
but right here. So then I know I don't want to be on a World Star. So
Yeah, that's so funny. I tell my wife the same thing all the time. Yeah, I don't want to be caught on World Star.
yeah.
Yeah.
So look. So then, oh, lady from She Vets It is on World Star because some lady, was in her personal space.
I think it would be great. You know what we say? Any publicity is good publicity.
Oh, wow. Oh, Lord.
Straight up.
Oh, my gosh. But so those are type of things. And I was hearing, when your anxiety is higher, you're a little more irritable.
Sure.
And so you could become a little more out of your character. And I'm very laid back and, everyone like, Althea, you're so sweet. But I'm like,
Wow, they say the same thing about me.
yeah. But when I'm out, like a fish out of water, that really, I can get triggered.
Sure.
So I know what my limitations are, so I try to not have people accommodate themselves to me. I just know, okay, I need to do this. Like my neighbor, here's the funny story. So, I was in Afghanistan, rocket attacks, so early in the morning. So I don't get a lot of sleep because sometimes I could hear, like, I sleep just like that. So my neighbor decides, I think a couple of years ago, or maybe, I don't know if it was last year or the year before last, he decides it was summertime, he's lifting weights in the garage. And it's like 1 o'clock or, I don't know, 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. It's like, cling, like he's like dropping the weights. And I jump up, like just startled. And I jump up, and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to, this is probably not all the time. This is just this time. And so I just stay up until I'm able to try to figure out how to go back to sleep. So then it happened again. He's like doing it again. This is another day. And as he kept doing it. By the third day, because, I'm still laid back because this is my natural, I'm a laid back person, my natural personality. The third day, I startled again and I jump up and I open the front door. Are we going to do that shit every morning?
Nice.
So that right there is me out of my character. But guess what? I have not seen him lift weights since.
Yeah, see? That's all you got to do. That's all you got to do. I tell my wife that too. That's all you got to do. All you got to do is you just got to let them know. I tell everyone I have a 3-strike policy. Everyone always thinks that I'm such an a-hole all the time, right? And I'm not. I'm just very honest. Like I'm very blunt. I'm very honest. And I give my opinion freely, right? So like if you treat me a certain type of way and I'm like, okay, I don't like you and here's why, I am literally the person who will not talk behind your back. I don't need to. Or if I do talk behind your back and you're like, you talking behind my back? Yeah, what would you like to know?
Oh, yeah.
You know,
I can tell you. Like, let me give you the list.
You just weren't here for me to tell you in person.
Yes.
That's why I didn't.
You were going to find out.
Yeah, exactly. I figured someone was going to tell you, obviously. So no, I mean, like, but I usually give someone a 3-strike policy, right? So I'm like, hey, listen, we had I'll give a story without trying to give away the person who I'm talking to. But anyways, I had this argument with this one person and they were like, hey, you can't do this. And I was like, okay, that's cool. I'm not having a really good day today. Like really don't want to deal with it. It was something menial, like, I don't know, like pick up your trash or something off the floor or something menial. And so I was like, listen, I don't really have time for this today. Like today's been a bad day. I think like one of my buddies like had just like I was deployed with killed himself the same day or whatever. And so like I was dealing with that and I was at work. And so then the person was like, well, you don't get to tell me to, that you don't do this or whatever, that you're not going to do this thing. And I was like, okay, here's the thing. I have a strict 3-strike policy and you're cutting up close to that third strike here.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, I've told you to kind of back up and like leave me alone and that, like I don't have time for this today. And then they did it again. And so then I was like, listen, if you don't get out of my face, I'm going to remove you from my space and it's going to be violent. It's going to be extremely violent, right? Like I've done like giving you warnings or whatever, right? And so people always see the end state, but they never see the lead up, right?
Yes. And you know what? Oh my gosh, it reminded me of like the Incredible Hulk. I don't know if you remember the Incredible Hulk. That's how I feel like I am. Like he's a really nice person, real nice person, and to you, kind of like, really maybe triggered him or
Yep.
keep going. And then now he has to show you another side. But because I'm working on myself and from the different speakers that I've had on my platform, I've learned to actually be more upfront about my boundaries and about things that I, expect, so that I don't. And then if something's going on, address it right then and there, because if I don't, that buildup kind of shocks them when they're like, oh, wow. But I always say, if I give it to you, you pretty much deserve it, because it take a lot for me to just let you have it. You deserve every bit of what I gave you.
So, yeah, I mean, absolutely. You know, my wife is really against conflict. She just doesn't understand it. She doesn't like it. It makes her uncomfortable. And I said, I feel the same way too. No, you do not. And I'm
He's like, no, you run towards it.
You don't understand, though. Like, I really don't like conflict. It makes me feel the same way it makes anybody else feel that doesn't like conflict. I don't like conflict, but I'm not afraid to utilize conflict if that's what's required. My ultimate goal by being honest with someone or being blunt and even sounding like it's being mean is saying, like, I want you to go home and I want you to really think about what you did today. You know what I mean? I really want you to think. I want this to kind of be a little
parent talk. Like,
exactly. I want it to be I wanted to jostle you so bad that you go home thinking about it and going, was it a little me? Like, do I actually do that? Like, I know that he said that I just annoy everyone, but do I really annoy everybody?
That. But you know what? That's how it was when I was in the military, being older. But I was a lot smaller too, so I looked a lot younger. I actually look like I was, about 25 when I was in.
Oh, come on, you still look young. Stop it.
I was a lot smaller.
Stop.
So what happened was, I would get younger NCOs or people that would really challenge me, and because they didn't know I was a little more seasoned, and I had, I've already been in leadership outside of the military. That I knew how to be tactful and how to go up the chain on different things. So I remember I had to pull someone aside and said, hey, I just want to be frank with you and just want to share some things with you, but I want to let you know how I feel when I'm working in your presence. Now, I'm not telling you to be anything different than who you are, but I just want you to be aware of what it is, and I feel like I owe you that before I take it to the next level. And so when I share that with them, because I'll do stuff like that.
Yeah, give them warning.
I give them warning, and I remember this gentleman, and I'm not going to mention his name, but he was been in the military for 30-something years, and he was just like really comfortable, and everyone's like, that's just how he is. And I'm like, well, I don't care that's how he is, but I'm in the Army, and you have to respect and this and that. And if he's a civilian, he is employed by the Army, which means he needs to do the same thing. And I don't go to work to be verbally abused or emotionally abused at work if I don't experience that at home. So
especially by a civilian.
Yeah, you said especially by a civilian.
I'm just saying.
Oh no, but I had talks. Look, I've had talks with leadership too, but the thing is, I never attack the person. I attack the behavior. I let them know, because one thing I'm going to do, I'm always going to be respectful to you. So I always let them know, like, hey, I'm always respectful to you regardless of what you ask me to do. I say, Mr. This, if you ask me to do something, I do that, and I go above and beyond. So when you approach me like this, to me, it makes me feel this way. And I don't think that is not something that I signed up for the military for.
It's good boundaries.
Yeah. So, but I let him go a little further, and then after that, they're like, oh my gosh, what did you say to Mr. X? Because every morning, hi, Sergeant Williams, hi, they're like, oh, he's a total different person. But everyone was like, that's just how he is. But he did it to everybody else. But I'm like, no, I didn't join for you to do this. So I constantly had to deal with with that part, you know.
Absolutely. No, I mean, I think that setting boundaries is really difficult. It's a hard portion of conflict for I think a lot of people, especially veterans, because like we're never able to stand up for ourselves in the military, right? I mean, like sometimes you are, but sometimes you're not. Imagine if that would have been like a sergeant major.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like not a civilian contractor, but like
True.
imagine if it would have been the sergeant major of your unit or something like that.
But here's the thing, I was seasoned. And
Yes.
I've worked with executives. I worked with presidents of a bank or this or that. So
Yeah.
for me, I was never intimidated by position.
That's
So
how I am
knew
now.
So I knew how to be tactful. I knew how to address the issue. And I probably had to think about it. I probably didn't always do it on the spot. But I would, at some point, process it and like, hey, when you have the opportunity, can we sit down and talk? And then I go through that. But it was never an attack where they're
Sure.
on a defense. I always just say, I just want you to know this is, you know, so that way, and it had to, it was something that when they look at it, yeah, she have a point on that. That was fair. That wasn't, you know what, I messed up. Like you said, they go home like,
Yeah.
maybe she got a point on that. She called me out on that.
I'm still working on how to tactfully do that. I've been working on it since I got out of the military, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
So.
And so one of I call her my Army best friend. Oh, she had no tact. Oh,
Yeah.
my gosh. So I remember we were in Afghanistan and we had one aircraft that went down and some of the packages that the families that the soldier received needed to go back to the family. She went to the post office, and one of the guys, she was a little irritable too that day, but one of the guys was they got into a little a verbal match.
Okay.
And she's like, you know, first of all, you're too close and your body stinks or something. She said something crazy. Now I was like, did you say that? I was like, oh my gosh. I said, that may be true, but you don't say, you know, like
Yeah.
it was just certain things like she would say, and it wasn't just in that setting. It was just in other settings. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that could be true, but you don't.
I just referenced a Few Good Men where you can't handle the truth. That's what I tell people all the time. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to use that now. I'll use that with the family.
Yeah. I'm like, listen, I'm not trying to be mean. You just can't handle the truth.
You can't handle the truth.
Sorry. I mean, I bet you'll go home. I said, I bet you'll go home and think about what you smell like tomorrow. Right? I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Like that would hurt.
But
you said you can't handle the truth.
But
and then,
But I mean, like if she tells him something like that, right? He's gonna go back. It's not nice. Obviously, it's not nice. Okay, we all know this. It's not manners. It's not nice. And you're starting your relationship or your brief interaction relationship on the wrong foot. Obviously, right? Mm-hmm. But this person is going to be able to learn how to be better next time, right? Because maybe that is a problem. And if someone else was telling him and he just didn't believe him because they're like super good buddies or whatever, and then this random person comes by and goes, "You stink, bro," then that person's going to be like, then I guarantee you the next morning they're going to wake up and they're going to go,
maybe I'll take a shower and wash my clothes.
Yeah,
I probably won't wear these.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. Sometimes I was questioning overseas. Some soldiers be wearing recycling those uniforms quite a bit before they throw it in the washer.
No, we would never.
We
would never be that lazy or unclean. How dare you?
No, I'm just
How
kidding.
dare you? No, I'm just kidding. No, we honestly wore the same uniforms all the time. 2 reasons. You ready for this?
Okay.
Well, actually, 3 reasons.
Wait, hold on. Let me adjust myself. I got to hear this one.
3 reasons why, okay? First reason, when we were wearing, remember when we were wearing ACUs? Okay, so ACUs were the worst camouflage pattern ever in the history of the United States military. Period. End of sentence. It camouflaged with absolutely nothing, especially in Afghanistan, because it's all sand or trees or mountains or rocks and browns and greens and whatever. Okay, so awful uniform. So we would let it get dirty, and then it would actually camouflage in with things. So you would the loam green and all the other colors, right? If you let it get dirty and sandy and nasty and a little bit brown with sweat and stuff like that, it would actually start to actually camouflage you into things. And so that's one reason why we would do it.
Okay.
2 reason, we're lazy. Okay, we're just lazy. We're lazy. Okay. Well, and I don't want to say like lazy all the time, but we're out on patrols, like those of us, especially those of us that are like out away from the big bases, right? We're out on patrols all the time. We do patrols 12, 16 hours a day. We come back, we go to sleep. Sometimes we sleep in our uniforms because we're just too lazy to take it off. And so, because we got to be back up in like 4 or 5 hours. And so like that lazy, right? And 3, right? For 3.
Wait, hold up.
Okay.
I'm ready.
This is an important one that no one really like thinks about a lot, right? But 3, it's so that we also can identify each other when we're on the big bases.
Oh, you're like,
no, I can look across the big base and I can go, that guy's uniform is tore up. I know.
That's one of ours.
I know that guy is out there away from this big base somewhere. So maybe he's Bravo troop, or maybe he's Charlie troop, or maybe whatever he's with. But I know he's one of us.
Oh, Lord.
So.
Well, back to the gentleman. It's okay. He was justified. So
yes.
He probably showered the next day.
He's not justified for stinking. You should never stink.
Yeah.
Just because we have a dirty uniform doesn't mean we stink.
Yeah. So but the thing with him, it wasn't so much about him stinking. Then
yeah.
Oh, I can't believe we're talking about this.
Nah, it's cool.
Okay.
This guy's going to be immortalized as a stinker forever.
No, a stinker. I don't even have his name, so that's
right.
good. And I don't even remember what he looked like. But anyhow, it was just really about how, your interaction with people.
Sure.
And, sometimes you can say a lot of things. You can get someone to listen on how you deliver your message versus, like I said, it's just how you deliver your message. So if I attack you and I'm like, you're not going to want to listen to me. But if I kind of like, hey, when you did blah, 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 I felt a little, uncomfortable or maybe I didn't feel right when you said that. But the thing is, what I expect for boundaries with someone else, I try to do myself. So I don't expect you to respect me if I don't respect you. So boundaries is a mutual thing, because sometimes people will cross all your boundaries but want you to respect theirs.
Oh, yeah.
So I try to make sure that I'm doing the same thing for you as I do for myself.
Reciprocating, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's smart. So let's talk a little bit about this. What does a success? You have to have a success story at some point with this organization, correct? I'm sure you have a couple.
Well, I guess, I'm still walking this out. I would say last year, the Real TV contacted me.
Ooh.
And they asked to vet some veterans that would be willing to give a 30-second clip of what it means to be a veteran.
Oh, that's neat.
And so I thought of all people, I was selected to do that. And, I've been able to have some wonderful people on my platform. Miss Rolanda Watts, she used to have the Rolanda Show back, a syndicated TV show back in the day. She today is the voice announcer for the Sherry Show.
Awesome.
Yes, so she was on my platform to talk to veterans about those that were interested in being voiceover actors. So she also connect with other veterans that want to get in that space. And she brought on some people from DreamWorks on my platform. Just surprisingly, brought some people from DreamWorks to talk about their program. So I was like, oh my gosh.
That's a huge deal.
Yeah, it was a huge deal. So then just a lot of things like that start happening, and then getting asked to speak. I was in D.C. in June, actually with the Department Secretary of Veterans Affairs. And so I was on a platform.
Guess I should be nicer to you then.
Yeah. No.
Now that you're friends with the secretary.
No,
oh, crap.
No.
I'm so sorry.
No.
I like my job.
No. I was in the segment. There was different segments, and they were government and the military. And my segment was women in the military. So just sharing the challenges of military women. And then I was a guest speaker at Los Angeles VA at a women's veterans retreat. So and then various speaking and podcasts, interviews.
Yeah.
I just had another one earlier this week. But, yeah, it's just constantly going. And like I said, this is not something I envisioned. Even when I was in the military, I never saw myself doing this. This wasn't like, I'm going to get out and I'm going to be a women veterans influencer. That was never in my mind. It was just me trying to help myself, and I saw some things that would be helpful for others, and it just kind of evolved into that. And just being authentic to my things, the things that I was going through that allow others to relate to it.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. I love that your organization has developed as naturally as it has. I just love it. I love that it does that because I love nothing more than to see people who truly care, right, for the world to just open up for them. Like I really do, and I hate seeing people who really don't care, right? Who want to take advantage of us succeed. I hate that. Yes. Like I really hate that. Like it burns my soul on fire when I see that, because there are a lot of people out there who don't want the best for us, right? Who don't want the best for us as veterans either, right? And so like, yeah, I'm so excited. I'm so excited by your organization and how well you're doing, and I can't thank you enough for coming onto the podcast, because I know you're super important, and you're way more important than sitting across from me in this stupid little podcast.
Oh my goodness.
So I really do appreciate it. So I really do appreciate it. Well, listen, that's about all the time that we have, but I really want to thank you so much, honestly, from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much for what you're doing and for who you're helping. Just know that you're helping one of the most underserved populations of veterans that exists in today's society. And so the female veterans can get all the help that they need. Honestly, they should get all the help that they need or want. And you are giving them a hand up, not a handout. And I cannot thank you enough for taking care of my sisters.
Oh, thank you.
So I really do appreciate it.
Thank you. Well, I want to thank you so much for having me here, and thank you for what you're doing, because I think all of us doing this collectively, we are definitely all making a difference. So I don't think it's just me one fight, but I think we're all serving, and so thank you for what you're doing, bringing people in to share their stories and things like that. So you're making a difference as well.
Yeah, I like to think we're all kind of chipping away at the same block, right?
That's right. That's right.
Just some of us chip a little bigger.
Hey, we're a team. Like
yes,
the military,
you're right. We are a team.
We all, no matter what the branch, we are all one mission, one fight.
Yeah, I love it. Well, thank you again. Thank you so much for being on. I really do appreciate it. Listen, that's all we got for you today. Sorry. But listen, please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. As always, please comment. I love responding to your comments, and I actually respond to every single one. Find another YouTube person that has enough time for that, okay? So thank you so much to Althea Williams for coming in and talking to us about her organization, She Vets It. Go and look them up. What's the website or anything that they can find you on?
www.shevetsit.com.
Okay, www.shevetsit.com. I'll have that linked below in the description, and I'll also have it up on the screen for you if you want to pause the video and take it down. And that's it. So listen, no matter how bad things seem to be, just Charlie Mike.
I believe what I believe. At least I got some belief.